Millions of Americans play the sport of softball, but only the best of the best have been invited to St. Paul, Minnesota to compete for the title in the ASA Super Nationals. And we are happy to be bringing you the coverage of the semifinals and finals of this year's ASA Super National from Midway Stadium here in St. Paul. And hello, everybody. Welcome to St. Paul. Dave Benz alongside Mike Woodley. And Mike, as I mentioned, a lot of people play softball, but very few people play it at the level of the guys we're going to see this afternoon.
Softball is America's playground, and from ages 8 to 80 all across our great land, they play the sport of softball. Now, this is the 80th anniversary of the ASA, and this is really getting back to the brass roots. We got 8 of the best teams in the country. They can bring anybody they want. And when we're done, they can hoist the trophy saying they're the best in the land. 10 years ago, they had a tournament like this, but it's been a decade, so these players are hungry to see if they can be the ones to win the trophy.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, what makes the Super National special is most major tournaments, you can only bring a maximum of 5 restricted players. Those are the guys that are listed as the cream of the crop. This tournament, as many as you can get on your team, you're welcome to bring.
Remember in the Blues Brothers movie, they're getting the band back together? Well, these guys are getting the guys together that they like to play with and the best in the land. They're all here, and it's going to be fun because this stadium is ready to see a few balls maybe leave the yard. And this is a minor league ballpark that is a bit of a challenge. So it's going to be fun to see these guys play in these rules and see if they can win the trophy.
Yeah, and as for the rules, I'm sure a lot of people at home are familiar with the general rules of softball, but there are some special ones for this specific tournament. For more on that, let's welcome in the third member of our broadcast crew. Natalie Nias joins us from down on the field. Natalie?
Hey, Dave, Mike, thank you. You know, these rules are meant to keep the games moving fast. So they're different, as you were saying, than what we've seen before. So we start with a 1-and-1 count. There's a 16 home run limit. Number 17, by the way, that's considered an out. Also, the foul ball with 2 strikes is also an out. Hey, the distances are also shorter. Pitching distance is 50 feet. The base distance, 75 feet. And folks, there is a mercy rule here. A run-ahead rule is 20 runs after 4 and 15 after 5. So like I said, this is meant to keep the game moving, and we're excited to see these games out here today, guys.
And excited to see some long-distance home run balls, which we did get a preview of last night. They had a home run derby, the championship. We'll have more on that coming up, and day 2 of our coverage coming up on CBS Sports Network. But let's talk about the brackets and how the 2 teams we're going to see in this first semifinal got here. Both Sonnies and Hortonbeck come to this game this morning undefeated.
Sonnies and Hortonbach Easton in the first game in this semifinal, and it's going to be interesting to see how these teams match up. Hortonbach comes in as the favorite if you're going to look at the numbers on paper, but Sonnies is certainly something there that we're going to look and see if they can ride the wave that they've been on to see if they can give Hortonbach Easton a run today.
Yeah, Sonnies beating Shop, the Louisville Slugger team, in the quarterfinal was a bit of a surprise. A lot of people expected Shop to be one of the teams that would be here today, but instead they are stuck watching on this final day. Now let's talk about some of the key players we're going to see here today. Let's begin with the guy who drives the bus for Sonnies, Chris Greiner.
The G-Man, and he's a mountain too. He's a big guy, as you can see. He's 6'6", close to 300 pounds. He's got his game face on too. He is the leader. He's the guy that they're going to look up to and see if these guys can follow his lead and make a run at this other team, of course, from Easton. That many again would think that he might have the ability to be or Easton would be the team to beat.
And if you ask a lot of these players who one of the best players they've ever been on a field with was, a lot of them will tell you this guy, Brian Wegman. He is in 3 of the 4 softball Hall of Fames that are in existence. He's not in the ASA Hall of Fame only because you have to be retired to be in that Hall of Fame. He will be in that Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah, he is an ambassador of softball. His brother, Bill, was a big star for the Milwaukee Brewers for a number of years, and he's a leader in softball and really a man in his own right that leads this sport.
We are closing in on the first pitch here at Midway Stadium in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. When we come back, we will have the starting lineups for you and our first semifinal of the ASA Super National. They are getting ready for the softball championships out in the parking lot at Midway Stadium. Bring us in a steak or a burger, as it's going to be a long day of softball here inside Midway Stadium, just about set to get underway. And there's a good look at Geno Buck, 2009 tournament MVP for the ASA championship, and a guy who absolutely can not only pitch, you defensively a gem, but can also hit the ball long ways. Beautiful conditions for us here in sun-splashed St. Paul, Minnesota.
Can't ask for much better this time of year. Late August and temperatures in the 70s. Humidity a little bit up there, but nothing of a problem at 75%. Sunny skies, light winds. We're going to see the best of the best in ideal conditions.
Take a look at the starting lineup for Sunnies. They'll go with Jeremy Davis playing the middle infielder, Kevin Ballard, Chris Greinert, who is a guy that can hit the ball a long, long way, Bryce Oliveira, Westy Giel, Sammy Christensen, Alexis Ramirez, Matt Pesso, Daniel Bean, and on page 2, because yes, they are playing 10 position players, they can actually bat 11. Sonny's opting to only bat 10 here today. Aaron Martinez will be in the 10 spot for Sonny's. Meantime, when we see Hortonbach come to the plate, they will bat 11 today, but we obviously will get to their lineup a little bit later on. And here is a look at that defensive alignment for Hortonbach. Behind the plate, Kevin Flip Philby, who was the 2012 Stadium Power Tour home run champion. I talked about Gino Buck, former ASA tournament MVP. Lopez, Reyna, Baker, and Kirby around the infield. Wegman, Durick, and Rainwater out there in the outfield. And Brett Helmer will be the extra hitter when we get to see Hortonbach on offense. Kevin Bazat is playing your extra fielder or middle infielder position today for Hortonbach. And Kevin Bazat, I got to take a look at as we're seeing him right now get warmed up in the middle of that infield. As we see Davis step into the plate and awaiting the first pitch here of this first semifinal. And again, all counts start 1-1. And with that ball, it is a 2-1 count. So in essence, you take 3 bad pitches and you get to take your base. And already a 3-1 count here for Davis.
Davis taking his time. There's a strike. So now he's going to pick up his eye to see if he can get this a hold of this one, and he does.
And Davis lines it to the second baseman, and that is going to be 1 up and 1 down as Bryson Baker are able to corral it for Hortonbach.
Baker's been a player who's had great speed, and he emerged as a home run hitter when he was not large in stature, and he's been a big part of this game for the last decade or so. And Baker there with a nice play to get the first out of the inning.
Well, Kevin Ballard up next, and so far in this tournament for Sonny's, a perfect 4 for 4. A home run, 3 ribbies, and looks at the first offering he sees for a strike. So in an early 1-2 hole here. And Ballard, again, a lot of action over there at the second base position, and the throw not handled cleanly there by Scott Kirby. So a runner aboard to get things started here with 1 out in the top of the first for Sonny's.
Good time to talk about the dimensions as Greinert comes to step to the plate. A 320 down both the lines, 400 to dead center. The lines being very, they're certainly convenient for some of these guys. They've been playing at 330 earlier in this tournament. So, but dead center 400 is a real hefty poke.
Yeah, Chris Greinert, a guy who can make that poke, and boy, does he get into one there. That ball is going. Is it fair? Indeed, it is not. Just on the wrong side of the fair pole, or foul pole, as you will, out there in left field. And Chris Greinert is just a long strike on that one.
Greinert, the G-man, again, just shy 300 pounds, 6'6", and you can see just on the outside of that fair pole. He thought he had it for a second, but it showed every bit of that 320 plus another 20 feet in elevation over that.
And Greinert pops this one up. And by pop-up, I mean a long pop-up. That one all the way almost out to the warning track, got under it. But it is caught out there by Chad Durick, and that's going to be the second out of the inning. Now the runner does advance. Nice heads-up base running there to tag up and get the extra base.
Again, we're playing on a minor league field. Bases are 75 feet, not the customary 90 feet that you would see in a minor league game. So if you notice that where the bases are a little bit shorter in softball, as is the rule.
So with Ballard on second, it's up to Bryce Oliveira to try and do something and see if he can get Sonny's on the board. And Oliveira sends one. That's going to be a tough play out there in center field, but Chad Durick on his horse makes the running catch. Nice defense.
Durick showing great speed going to the gap. These guys are athletes, and you can see it there as Durick makes the out and retires the half inning.
So the Sonny's team gets its chance and is unable to deliver. Easton will get a crack after this timeout here on CBS Sports Network.
ASA Super National, presented by Long Haul Trucking on CBS Sports Network, is being brought to you by Easton Sports. There is a difference, and the difference is Easton. By Miken Sports, elite equipment for the elite player. Miken Sports. And by DeMarini. Upgrade your game with the DeMarini Stadium CL22 and Flipper Aftermath.
And welcome back to St. Paul, Minnesota. We are just underway here in Game 1 of the ASA Super Nationals semifinal game number 1. Sonny's does get a runner aboard in the top of the first, but unable to bring Kevin Ballard around. So now it will be Hortonbach with its first crack at the plate. And let's check out the Hortonbach lineup for you. And leading things off and playing second base, it's Bryson Baker, Brian Wegman, the perennial Hall of Famer in the 2 spot, Kevin Philby, Scott Kirby, Brett Helmer, Gino Buck, Chad Durick, Sam Lopez, Brian Rainwater, and as I mentioned in the top half of the inning, Hortonbach going with 11 batters today. Luis Arena playing shortstop, and then Kevin Bazat, your middle infielder. You are allowed to have that extra hitter if you want it, and with all the power hitters that Hortonbach Auto and Easton has brought here today, it's easy to understand why they want to have an extra bat in the lineup.
No question. You got all this talent. You want to give them their chance to play. And Baker, I mentioned earlier, he's been around for a while, 210 pounds, 5'10". He can hit, he can stroke the ball deep. Looking at defense here, Dave, is we're looking at this Sonny's team, see if they can keep these balls in the park.
Yeah, there you see Sonny's, and the guy that's not listed there, Jeremy Davis, is their extra middle infielder, if you will, but Lopez, Cunningham, and Giel around the outfield. Christensen, Pesso, Oliveira, Davis, your infielders, Bean, and Greinert, your battery here today. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action.
This game off to a 1-0 lead is Easton on top.
Now it's Scott Kirby's turn at the plate, and Scott Kirby was part of the Power Tour Stadium Home Run Championship that we saw here on Friday night, and we'll have more of that coming up for you here on the CBS Sports Network a little bit later on. And he gets a hold of that one and sends it over the wall. So the first home run of the afternoon belongs to Scott Kirby, who put on a fireworks display on Friday night here at St. Paul Stadium, picks up where he left off with a 3-run shot here for Hortonbach Auto in the bottom of the first.
Hortonbach Auto, again, this is what Sonny's was hoping they wouldn't do. The big bats, the big strength. This team just all types of USA team members on it. And you can see as he hit it, he knew it was gone. Just clearing by a few feet. But he did stroll around the bases. They are running around the bases here to honor the sport. A lot of times in this sport, they would not have to run around the bases on home runs. This time they are, and now it's for a guy with Brett Helmer stepping up. Here's a guy, again, that can hit those line drive home runs this time from the other side of the plate. Yeah,
Brett Helmer, another guy who put on a show in the home run derby, and this one's going to stay in the yard. He is off and running, going to dig for 2, and he'll get in there standing up. So an impressive offensive display early here by Hortonbach Auto as they get the first 4 batters to the plate in, and the 5th batter gets a double.
There you see Helmer. Now that's a smart play as he tried to keep that ball in the park because there is a limit on home runs. He knows so that's just smart hitting by his part by keeping it to a double. Now he preserves a home run chance later on for this team if they need one.
Gino Buck, who I mentioned was an ASA Men's Class A national champ with the Long Haul Bombers back in 2009 and was the MVP of that tournament. Held the opposition to 45 runs in that tournament as he draws a walk, and people at home may say 45 runs, how can that be MVP status? Well, A, he's got a heck of a bat, which you didn't get a chance to see there, and B, 45 runs over the course of a long tournament is not a whole lot to give up against these power hitters.
Another thing nice about Buck, he's about as close to a hometown boy as we have in this tournament. He's from Red Wing, Minnesota, just about 30 miles from Midway Stadium where this game is being played.
So Durick now to the plate, who made that nice running grab to end the top of the first, and he's going to be able to trot around the bases after a monster shot. Oh my. Easton bringing the power here today at Midway Stadium.
Durick with a really no doubter lands on top of the platform out there in left field. Again, smart hitting again, bringing in 3 runs with the home run. Helmer was wise earlier to get on base, and there's a look at it again. Durick just has a classic swing. Great athlete. You can see it there as he was able to clear the park, clear the bases. and put his team up to a 7-0 lead here in the first.
Durek was part of the New York Mets system as a minor leaguer for 5 years before finding his way into the sport of softball. Also enjoys coaching when he's not in season playing softball, and that is a shot by Lopez that's going to be in foul territory, and luckily for him, over the fence, so it's just a long strike, and Lopez will be in a 1-2 count when he gets back to the plate.
And Chad Durek is among many of these players we'll see this weekend that have major league experience, or at least they were drafted by teams. Many of them spent several years in the minor league systems and then worked their way towards softball, and now these guys are the ambassador of the game that millions play all around the country. Again, from ages 8 to 80, these are the best of the best. These are the idols of those who play softball.
And Lopez takes that offering and pops it up to center field. Aaron Martinez is under it, makes the catch. The first out finally put on the board after 8 hitters come to the plate here in the bottom of the first. If you're Daniel Bean, this is not the start you were hoping for. Now, obviously, slow pitch softball not noted necessarily for its pitching. We did talk about Geno Buck's success on the mound, but really you just want to try to control the damage. You know guys are going to get theirs. You just don't want them to get theirs all the time.
There still is a skill in pitching, and certainly knowing how to control a game, as you said, down the line.
Brian Rainwater got into that one, but not enough to leave the yard, and it ends up being a long out as it's brought in by Westy Giel out there in right field. Nice defensive play there. So 2 straight outs now recorded by Sonny's. That's got to be a bit of a relief after 7 consecutive runs were given up to start this inning.
Giel with a nice play, knowing his position where the wall was, and kept his shoulder on just so he knew exactly where he was in relation to the wall. Makes the catch and gets the second out of the inning.
So 2 away here, bottom of the first, and that's another ball taken. And Rivera's going to send it to second base, and that'll end the inning. So 3 straight outs after 7 consecutive runs. We've got one in the books. Horton Balgado with a early lead here in St. Paul. Due to time constraints, we pick up the action in the 3rd inning. Dave Benz, Mike Woodley with you here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Brett Helmer phoning it in at this point saying, hey, we got an 11-0 lead, but as we've talked about, Mike, no lead is safe in the sport of slow pitch softball.
If Sonny's can get it going, it'd be really in their best interest to get on the board and get a couple, try and cut that lead down just at least a little bit here. Otherwise, there is a run rule that may be something that they're going to be concerned about, because we will not play out the entirety of this game if the lead maintains and grows a bit for this Easton squad.
Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action.
If you ever have a chance to get to Oklahoma City, take some time to see the Hall of Fame Museum, ASA Museum. It's amazing. I'll more on that in just a little bit.
And Bryce Oliveira finally gets Sonny's on the board. That one ain't coming back. The Geno Buck offering sent well over the wall in left field. A 3-run shot for Oliveira, and Sonny's finally can breathe a sigh of relief. They have the goose egg off the scoreboard.
And that's going to make Sonny Pilcher feel a lot better, the manager of this Sonny squad. And again, the guys feeling a little bit too. I mean, it's such a psychological break for them to get that goose egg off the scoreboard, show that they can hang with these guys. And now let's see if the heads come up a little bit more, maybe they're going to start swinging a little bit stronger and finding a way to climb back in this game and cut that lead in half.
Westy Giel at the plate, and he singled in his first at-bat. He's looking for a home run, and he's got a home run into the party box out here at Midway Stadium. The solo shot to make it an 11-4 ball game.
Yes, this is the home of the minor league St. Paul Saints, and that was a major league softball home run, as you can see, clearing the fence out there in the gap on the party box. Guys they're feeling it. Yeah, maybe that is what it took. Now that they opened up the dam here, now with a 7-run lead. It was 11 just a few moments ago, and we can see if we can keep it going and see if Sonny's can climb back in this ballgame.
So Sam Christensen now to the plate, and he drills one line shot into right field, and he's going to have a single. So something cooking here for Sonny's as they've suddenly got things working. All the runs in the inning coming with 2 outs.
Christensen from Boise, Idaho. That's a smart play for him now. Again, he might not be he's not the home run hitter that some of these other guys on this roster are. So get on base and let somebody try and drive you in.
Yeah, Christensen, another one of those guys, as you mentioned, who played minor league baseball, was in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization after playing college ball at the University of Southern Colorado. By the way, checking this out for Christensen, his superstition, he says that he likes to throw up before every tournament and almost every game.
Now, I've seen that in other sports. This is the first time I've heard of it in slow pitch softball, but he won't have anything upsetting his stomach there as he takes the free base. But now, again, an opportunity for Sonny's to try and climb into that lead with a couple runners on base. We'll see if they can continue to do what they're doing in this inning and chip away.
So Matt Pesso now to the plate with first and second and 2 outs, and Pesso sends one into left field, and that one is going to be off the wall. 2 runs are going to come in on a stand-up double for Matt Pesso, and Sonny's right back in this ball game, Mike, after an impressive offensive onslaught, all coming with 2 outs.
Bryce had that home run, and that just sparked it. It changed things. Look at the bench. They're down there high-fiving, hugging. This is what softball's all about at any level. When you get things going, it's a lot of fun to play the game. And when it's fun, you play better, and that's what we're seeing. Sonny's is feeling it right now. And you know what we're seeing here, if you are new to the game, these are normal type innings in slow pitch softball, especially at this level where they can hit it this deep.
Daniel Bean, the pitcher, sends it the other way, and the play at the plate not going to be in time. And Pesso able to come in and score, and Bean is going to go all the way over to third base as the ball gets away.
Bean with some alert base running there with a throw home. Gets away from Helmer and or rather away from Kirby, and they're able to get that extra base. Sonny's is feeling it. Now you see the throw cut off, or not cut off, and just unable to get the tag. So the run comes through, and again, we're looking at 11-7 game.
So Martinez, who started the inning off for Sonny's, will get his second plate appearance of the inning as Sonny's bats around. As good as Hortonbach Auto has been, they've yet to bat around in this game. And a 2-2 count for Martinez, who did walk in his first plate appearance of the inning, and lofts that one out into left center field, and it's going to be brought down by the center fielder, Chad Durick, and that'll close things out for Sonny's here in the top of the third. But what an impressive half an inning. Sonny's right back in the game. They get 7, all with 2 outs. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action to the 5th inning. Back here in St. Paul, Hortonbach Auto looking to potentially close things out here in the bottom of the 5th. More on that in a moment, but right now let's get it down to the third member of our broadcast crew, Natalie Nias.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm down here with Brett Helmer right now and a bucket of bats. Let's talk about the bats. What kind of bats are you guys using in this game?
Well, for this weekend, obviously, it is ASA sanctioned, so we are using just our ASA bats. It's a little different standard that makes ASA unique to the other associations.
Let's see some of them.
So, like here we have our L4. This is an ASA only, so it can only be used in this association. We made them currently this year. This is probably our most popular model. And, we go right down the line. That's a 12-inch barrel. That's the shortest barrel we make. And we go right back with a long barrel, a B3. This is our longest barrel, 13.5 inches, 2-piece bats. What we try to do is make something that covers all players' needs, from rec players right up to to these guys here on the field today. Try to make everybody happy. We're Easton sponsored, so everything in here is Easton.
Sure. So we have a whole bucket of bats here. Yeah. How does a guy determine, what bat he's going to use?
Well, you know what? Each guy, when we do the testing, all these bats are tested to make sure they pass their performance before, and then they go in this bucket and they stay there all weekend. So each guy kind of has his own bat in there. He's determined by the time we get here what bat feels the best for him, and that's what we go with.
Okay, so what happens if someone, say, throws a Mikan bat in here?
Well, we throw them right out of here. Actually,
them or the bat?
Well, you can throw them both out of here. We actually got one Mikan sponsored player. Kevin Philby is Mikan sponsored player, great kid, and he's the only one allowed to put a foreign object in the Easton bucket.
Fair enough. Okay, Kevin Philby is the only one allowed. Brett, thank you very much. Thanks for showing us a little insider information with all the bats.
Thank you, Natalie.
All right, back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Natalie. That's good stuff. Yeah, these guys, I'll tell you what, they take their allegiances very seriously, and the tools of the trade are obviously very important to what they do.
And this tournament, because of there are some differences from what they do at some of the other tournaments, as Helmer had mentioned.
Luis Reina, 1 for 2 on the day, make it 2 for 3. He's going to have extra bases here. Had a double in his last plate appearance and has another double here to lead things off in the top of the 5th. And as I alluded to, this could potentially be the final inning, as Hortonbach Auto can get a 15-run lead. It would be over, 15 after 5. So Sonny's needs to be aware of that and try to keep this game extended to see if they can climb back offensively.
What this tournament does is you can bring anybody. This is an invitational. This isn't like a lot of the other tournaments at all, where you can get you bring the boys you want to play with in this tournament, no matter who they're with or what team they're with, and they can be a part of this. And that's why you might see a situation where, like Brett talked about, with the foreign object in with the rest of the bats. I like that because we get an opportunity for the best guys to be on the team they want to play on, and a chance to win the hardware.
Well, I guess the devil's advocate on that would say, well, it's not necessarily all that fair for the little guys, because of course the all-star teams are going to be able to have a sizable advantage as Hortonbach Auto gets another run across off the RBI single by Bazat. But you know what? It's fun to watch these guys all be able to play together. And you do get a team like Sonny's that goes and pulls an upset in the quarterfinal round against Shop.
And if this was the only major tournament of the year, I'd agree with you. But there are a number of different tournaments in different sanctioned organizations. This one's unique enough. It stands apart. And that's one of the things I think these guys like. There's many other tournaments they can play in. This one's unique, and they can play. It's a little different. And I think the guys are always looking for something a little bit unique and special to end their season.
Bryson Baker, you see his numbers there. The home run came in his previous at-bat. 7 home runs on the afternoon for Hortonbach, nowhere near the limit of 16. And they're going to try to turn 2, and they get 2. A hustle up the line by Baker, but not enough to be able to beat the throw, and a big double play by Sonny's.
When you can throw out Bryson Baker in a double play, you're playing well. Look at this. Turns it, Baker, although spinning down that line at 75 feet, they still get him to turn the double play.
Nice turn there by Bryce Oliveira to get a little extra on that throw to beat Baker hurrying up the line. He knew he was in trouble too. I thought he'd make it, but a nice turn by Sonny's, and we'll see how big that could be in this game as Wegman delivers the single.
He's able to get that rip after a couple of walks early, and Wegman jumped out on one his last at-bat. He didn't want to. This one he does just the way Wegman normally does. Ropes it down the line and gets on base.
Hair product and all.
You know, it's funny, this tournament in 1981, the first one of this category, and here's some names for those that follow softball. Rick the Crusher Shearer took home the MVP title. In 22 years of the Super Division, 12 teams were crowned champions. Rich's Superior, Steel Silver Bullets, they all had 4 championships each. So those are some names of the past, and those that follow the game remember Rick the Crusher Shearer.
Yeah, well, name of the past, the name of the future, Kevin Philby, who is actually a name of the present too. He is absolutely delivering, was on the Team USA Future Squad last year, actually on Team USA this year. We talked earlier about guys and their diet and pregame meals. How about the pregame meal for Kevin Philby? Stromboli. That's what he likes to chow down on, is some Stromboli before every game.
Well, if it works for him, I guess who's going to argue when you work this hard? And the other thing, too, when you talk about this tournament here and this one, we're just seeing the semifinals and championships. But there are times when they're playing in hot, humid weather, and they're playing games on Friday night. They're playing games all day Saturday, sometimes into the late hours, then back on Sunday. And oftentimes there's a what-if game because somebody comes through the loser's bracket. These guys have to play in a lot of heat and humidity, a lot of games in a short period of time. The nutrition has to be right on.
Kirby sends it back up the middle. That's going to bring in a run. And how big is that double play that Sonny's turns are looking right now? Because as we mentioned, this thing could be over if Hortonbach Auto gets to 25. And the fact that there are 2 outs makes you think it's probably still going to be tough for them to do, although second and third right now, and some heavy hitters still coming up.
Well, you hit it. The heavy hitter, heavy lifters too, Brett. Helmer is a power lifter. Amazing what he's done. He's been all-world 29 times. He's also a 4-time national batting champion. Certainly he's as feared as anybody. Those line drives he hits. Now the wind is working against him as a lefty. Let's see what he does.
Well, kind of dropped the shoulder there like maybe he was thinking about trying to go the other way. Just a double and a couple of flyouts on the afternoon for Helmer, and
that was by design.
Yeah, and well designed. Drops it in for the 2-run single.
Helmer didn't go for the fence. He went right for the right up the middle. Waited it out. That's an experienced hitter. Now, Helmer was putting on a show during the Long Haul Bombers event Friday night. There you see he was just put it right where he wanted to, right out in center. You could see his eyes when he looked at it. Popped it in there and put his team in a better position to win this game. It's not always about hitting the big home runs. It's about being all-around ball player. Nobody does that better than Helmer.
Gino Buck, the pitcher for Hortonbach at the plate now. And you know Hortonbach is well aware of the fact that they need just 4 more runs to end this game. And you know, when you got a chance to end the game. You don't want to give Sonny's a second chance.
Buck, as I mentioned, from Red Wing, Minnesota, about 30 miles from here, as I recall the drive. Guy's really emerged in the last 5 years as a big leader.
And Buck tries to get it through the left side of the infield, but nothing doing there. They'll settle for the force out, and that'll be the 3rd and final out here in the bottom of the 5th. Hortonbach Gatto up 11 as we go to the top of the 6th in St. Paul. Due to time constraints, we pick up the action in the 6th inning.
Now, if there's someone who's going to help them right now, why not the guy who's coming up right now to play?
Yeah, Bryce Oliveira, this was earlier in the game, got the first runs of the game for Sonny's with a 2-run home run, and looking to duplicate that, and does so. Sends it off the SS Pork Chop out there in left field. Another 2-run home run by Bryce Oliveira, and Sonny's showing some signs of life here.
A replay and then to real time. It was a very similar home run for Bryce. He's got that power swing and, waited it out. Played it just perfectly, too. I think the wind sure helped him a little bit, but look at this swing. Leg kick up high. Great contact. Out of the park, right off the SS Pork Chop, as you said, and they'll call it a home run.
And that's a line shot by Giel that's going to get through the left side of the infield, so he's aboard with a single. So Sonny's having something going here in the top of the 6th inning. Back within 8 runs and a runner aboard and still nobody out.
They don't want to go home. A rare rally with nobody out. Generally what Sonny's has done in this game has been strike with 2 outs. This time they're getting it going a little earlier. Let's see how that works for them the rest of the way.
The loser of this game will play in the next semifinal game against Rip City. And the winner of this game will await the winner of that second game for the championship. And Christensen lofts this one out into center field, and coming over to make the play out of left is Brian Wegman. So finally one retired here for Sonny's in the top of the 6th.
Wegman kind of sneaky. I mean, he covers a lot of ground in a really short period of time. He sized that one up pretty well. But he carried quite a bit of turf getting to that one in time to get the out. These guys know what they're doing. They play the ball well, and they obviously have to react well to each and every hit and what's happening with the wind around them.
So Alexis Ramirez steps to the plate. Ramirez, a couple of walks and a single today in his 3 plate appearances.
I like that story about Wegman, too. He played in the minor leagues, and he came back, and he wanted to be in the game with his buddies. And now it led all the way to this level. But originally, softball for him was just something to do because he liked being with his friends. And that's where really the sport, that's what makes this sport so special. Those softball nights with your buddies are what drives it across the country is such a great popular participation sport.
Well, that's how most of these guys got here, just playing with their buddies, and then one thing led to another, and then they're playing, and a lot of them are playing year-round. I mean, you know, there's still some guys that live in the Northeast and the Midwest and don't play year-round, but a lot of these guys will tour around the country, and they'll be playing deep into the fall and very early in the spring by going to some of the southern states and the western states to play in tournaments and get their game perfected.
And like I say, these sponsors know that when Brett Helmer's swinging an Easton bat, whoever's playing at any levels thinking they want to be Brett Helmer, so they're going to probably go with that Easton bat or whatever bat of the player that they like.
Pesso digging for two, the throw offline, and that is going to allow another runner to come in and score as Ramirez, good heads-up base running, he is in, and Pesso with the double brings in a couple more.
There it is again. There's the play from Wegman. Off the mark, nope, can't get it at second base, and then it goes out, giving, again, Sonny's more of an opportunity here to chip away at the lead. 6 runs is not a big lead in this level of softball, and Sonny's is getting it done with just 1 out.
Daniel Bean now, he tripled in his last at-bat and sends this one out into right field. That's going to be caught out there by Brian Rainwater, but a chance to advance by Pesso, who does tag up and goes to third.
Now to bring on Martinez. 2 outs, but we do have a runner at third. Again, that leads 6 runs. Easton getting a push by this Sonny's upstart team. Again, we mentioned a couple of times they upset Shop Louisville Slugger to get here. Now they're showing they belong in this tournament, and by no means is this one over.
Especially if that one can get over the wall. The wind trying to push it, and it does just that. Another round tripper for Sonny's, and 2 more runs coming out of the board.
That's what you want to see. Again, the power that these guys have. You see the arms, you see the upper body. Most of this really is in the legs. You see how he turns on that? If you're watching, if you want to be a player like this, look at that swing. Turns and it goes just down the line. Wegman gives a jump, but he can't get it, and it's another home run, and Sonny's is playing very good softball.
And Mike, I want to go back to that double play that we saw them turn at the top of the 6th inning. Bryce Oliveira doing a beautiful job getting some extra oomph on that throw to get it over to first base and get the double play. That really changed the complex of that inning, and you think about it, I misspoke, bottom of the 5th inning, not top of the 6th. You think about what could have been for Easton. They were within 4 runs of ending the game. They don't hit into that double play, this game might be over.
And I know what somebody might be saying, come on, it's a 21-17 game and a defensive play is a key play, but it really was, because it stopped the flood. It really ended the flooding and tidied it up a little bit and kept Sonny's in this ball game.
So Davis comes up to the plate. Jeremy Davis still looking for his first hit of the afternoon, has not been on base.
It's rare you would see the only batter on a team, a leadoff batter, yet to get on base. So he's definitely due, and he gets it.
And down the line, and that's going to be a long single.
Wegman doing some nice work on that one, getting on it quickly.
And Mike, that was actually Charles Cunningham who came into the game to pinch hit because Davis was struggling, and Cunningham comes up with the base hit. I saw the number. He's not listed on our roster here, number 23. Some of these jersey numbers have shifted a little bit here for the ASA Super National from their normal jersey numbers that they play in regular tournaments, because they have brought in the extra players. But Cunningham able to come up with the 2-out single.
Yeah, his first taste of this in this game, and big time hit. He plays catcher most of the time when he's playing softball, from Port Orchard, Washington, and that was a big play, as you said. I mean, it's time right now for Hortonbach, Otto, Easton to really think about this thing, because it can get away with you. Get away from you. A 4-run lead is nothing, absolutely nothing in this game.
Yeah, and Rob Humphrey trying to underscore that point right now with his team as they talk about their defensive situation. And by the way, you saw Jeremy Davis did come back into the game. He's back at first base. You can reinsert players here in this game today, Mike. Once you're out, you can come back in a couple of times. I love that these jerseys that these rosters are inaccurate.
Yeah. I think with all the money they spend on these, they make sure they have that.
Yeah. So with 2 away, it'll send Ballard to the plate. And Ballard, as you mentioned, Mike, another guy who had a nice defensive play earlier in this game and a chance to bring his team even closer. Sonny's all the way back within 4 runs. If you thought this one was over, Sonny says not so fast.
Yes, Sonny's has battled back a couple of times earlier in the game with 2 outs. They've been managed to keep it close and just peck away. Now with just a 4-run lead, Hortonbach Auto Easton's got themselves quite a battle here, and Sonny's has had a history of being a bit of an upstart, bit of a surprise team, and they're keeping it going here in this semifinal.
And Ballard sends this one out to center field. That's going to be a can of corn out there for Chad Durick, and finally Hortonbach Auto able to shut the door on Sonny's, but not before they climb right back into this game with 7 runs in the inning. 21-17 as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
ASA Super National, presented by Long Haul Trucking on CBS Sports Network, is brought to you by Amateur Softball Association of America. Get out and play, ASA. And by Panama City Beach, Florida. Real, fun, beach.
Due to time constraints, let's move ahead to the action in the 7th inning. Back here in St. Paul, 5-run lead for Hortonbach Auto. Sonny's down to its last chance at their final 2 outs. Christensen on the day. A couple of singles, sandwiched by a couple of flyouts to left. Has scored 1 run. And Christensen again slapping it to left. Is it going to drop in? Brian Wegman under it. And 2 outs. Sonny's down to their final out here in ASA Super National semifinal number 1.
Sammy just didn't quite get enough of it. And Wegman, he anticipated where that was coming. That was not a problem at all for Wegman. He was on that one right as it left the bat. It's all down to this. Let's see if Sonny's can keep what has been a nice, don't want to say magical run, but a very surprising run in the eyes of many to get to this game. Maybe they can force a few more eyes to open across the world of softball.
Well, this will not close the door on Sonny's. Even if they don't come back here, they will get to play in semifinal number 2 against Rip City. And the winner of that game will advance to face the winner of this game. And Sonny's isn't done in this game yet because Ramirez keeps it alive with the single. So 1st and 3rd with 2 out for Matt Pesso.
And 4-run lead, so I spoke earlier that now the tying run is actually on deck, but there's more than a chance right now as they're able to get around. And again, they're playing situational baseball here. They're softball rather. They're not going for the fence. They're just trying to get on base, and it's working.
You guys get a few more to run. Let's go, guys. Get on. Let's go, kid.
Well, we'll see what Pesso can do. Pesso's had a pretty productive day at the plate. A couple of doubles, has scored 3 runs. And sends this one down the line, and that is going to find an opening. It's also going to bring in a run. Pesso with a key RBI single to bring in Giel, and it is down to a 3-run deficit here for Sonny's.
It's the tying run at the plate. And let's see if Bean can be the one. Daniel Bean has an opportunity if he can go deep to tie this game at 22.
Sam Lopez laying out there to try to make the play, but just couldn't get it. Nice line shot there by Pesso. And Bean sends it back up the box. It's going to bring in another run, and now the go-ahead run will have a chance to come to the plate with runners on the corners here in the top of the 7th. So Sonny's playing some small ball, and it's been effective.
There's a look at it again. That's exactly what he's trying to do. Goes right up the middle, past Gino Buck and in the gap, out to center. Drives in the run.
That'll bring Martinez to the plate. Aaron Martinez has a home run and a double. Has also walked and flown out in this game, and he's Not going to be happy with that result. Gets under it, and that's going to do it as Chad Durick able to haul it in. And Hortonbach Auto holds off Sonny's furious rally, 22-20, your final here in semifinal number 1. More to wrap it up after this timeout here on CBS Sports Network. Well, if you like offense, this was the game for you. 22-20, the final. Hortonbach Auto moves on to the championship round of the ASA Super National, thanks in large part to the efforts of Chad Durick. 3 for 4 on the day with a couple of home runs and a double. He is our long-haul trucking player of the game. He's standing by right now with Natalie. Natalie?
Thank you so much. So, Chad, you are the long-haul trucker game player of the game. How does that make you feel today?
Makes me feel good. Even better, we won.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got a little dicey toward the end there. Sonny's was kind of chipping away there with some small game moves. What'd you think of that?
They played the game hard and right.
Yeah.
That's the key. You got to play together and, base hit. Keep going at it.
A couple of big home runs for you today. Tell me about those.
Well, you just got to try to stay locked in and be selective on your pitching. Hit strikes and hopefully a good outcome.
How about the wind today? It is a little windy out here in the park. Is that helping you, hurting you?
Well, it helps the righties, hurts the lefties. So I would say that played a big factor in the game completely on both sides.
So how do you feel?
Feel great. One more game. Go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home. You heard it here, Chad. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, sending it back up to you.
All right, thank you so much, Natalie. So Hortonbach Auto moving on to the championship round, and Sonny's going to have to play one more semifinal game against Rip City.
Still alive, and they out-hit Hortonbach Auto in this game, so they're going to feel good about their chances to still stay alive in this tournament as well.
The final semifinal coming your way next when we continue on from St. Paul's Midway Stadium here on CBS Sports Network. Game 1 of our ASA Super National semifinal featured plenty of explosive power. The long ball on display by Hortonbach Easton. They hit 6 round trippers in the first 3 innings, helping build an early 11-0 lead. But Sonny's came back strong. Bryce Oliveira, a couple of home runs as Sonny's came all the way back within 2 runs. But in the end, Hortonbach Easton escapes 22-20 to move on to the championship game, leaving Sonny's to play in an elimination game. And CBS Sports Network is happy to be bringing you that elimination game between Sonny's and Rip City right now from St. Paul's Midway Stadium. Game 2, our final national semifinal, with the winner moving on for a chance to be crowned ASA Super National Champ for 2013, the loser to go home. Dave Benz alongside Mike Woodley. And Mike, this tournament really is an example of what people do all over the nation every weekend. Get out and play slow pitch softball.
The only difference is these are the very best in the United States playing in one particular tournament. This is an open tournament. The best can come here. You can pick your team, whoever you want. It's an invitational. They're here. The best teams are here, but we're not just seeing long hitting. You'd think with a game where a team lost scoring 20 runs, what really worked for them was small ball, but still. So that's what brought him into this tournament.
Yeah, let's talk about this tournament. 8 total teams by invitation only. You have to be the best of the best to get into this tournament. And we talked about making the comparisons to what you see on your local softball field. These guys are studs on this field. They would be out of this world on the local softball field.
They are. And the rules, of course, accommodate that. These guys can hit home runs, but they also are good athletes. We've seen fine defensive plays as well as home runs in this tournament, and we'll expect to continue to see that more in this game right now.
Now, regular softball players will be familiar with some of the rules, perhaps not all, though. There is a little bit of a twist for this particular tournament, and for that, let's get down to the third member of our broadcast crew. Natalie Nias joins us now from the field. Natalie?
Dave, Mike, thank you. You are right. We want to keep things moving in these softball games, so these rules are designed to make these games go fairly quickly, as we saw with that first game. Start with a 1-1 count. Also, there's a 16 home run limit. Number 17 is an out. That might sound like a lot, but as you'll see here in Game 2, we get a lot of home runs in these softball games. Foul ball with 2 strikes is considered an out. Also, the distances are shorter. The pitching distance is 50 feet, the base distance 75 feet. And folks, we do have a mercy rule with all those home runs. The run-ahead rule is 20 runs after 4 and 15 after 5. Guys?
All right. Thank you very much, Natalie. Let's get into our key players to watch in this game. So many big hitters, so many great athletes. Who are you looking at here for Rip City?
Well, Chris Larson's the guy. He was the 2010 Long Haul Bomber home run champion. He went 3 for 4 in their game to get him here with a home run. I think we're going to see more of Chris Larson, but he's not the only guy, but he's going to be the leader offensively, most likely for this team.
Yeah, Chris Larson, a guy who actually works designing softball bats. He also knows how to use the softball bats to try and carry his team. He's hoping for a chance in the title game against Hortonbach Auto Eastern. Now, as far as the Sunnies, they lost that first semifinal game, so they have to play a second consecutive game. What's your key player in this one?
Well, I think we got a number of key players. Of course, you got Greinert. There he is. Chris, who is the big man. He's just shy of 300 pounds, 6'6". They need him to do maybe a little bit more than he did in the first game. They need home runs from him. He was doing opposite field, getting on base. That's good, but they might need him to be a killer today to get some home runs in.
Yeah, he was 3 for 5 with no home runs. Single, double, triple, 3 runs scored in that first game. Most players would think that's a pretty good stat line, but not for Chris Greinert. They need more power from him. We're going to have starting lineups coming your way after this timeout. We're just getting started with semifinal number 2 here on CBS Sports Network. And back in beautiful downtown St. Paul, Minneapolis, where we are just about set for Game 2 of our ASA National Super Semifinal. And Sunnies, who lost in the first semifinal, now faces elimination if they do not win this game this afternoon. And they will turn to a new pitcher in this game. They did not go with Carl Blank in the first semifinal, but they are going with him here in semifinal number 2. And his team will take the mound first as Sunnies has won the flip. They will be the home team facing on Rip City, the visiting team for this game. Brian Barnett will lead off and play second. Dale Bubba Brungart, a big-time hitter at the hot corner and third base. Larson, Burns, Pokraka, Arnold, Butner, Wethington, and Schlitz. And then we go to page 2 because, yes, Rip City will use the extra hitter, so they will bat 11. Jamie Tiernan and Billy Heron will round it out for Rip City. Let's take a look at the defense for Sunnies. It'll be Ramirez, Davis, and Giel in the outfield. Christensen, Pesso, Oliveira, and Cunningham around the infield. And then we mentioned Blank. He'll be joined by Chris Greinert as the battery here for Sunnies. And let's talk about Sunnies. They fell behind early in that first game, having a chance to be the home team in this game. You know they'd like a shutdown inning to have a chance to actually maybe take a lead for once today.
Yeah, they were trailing early and battled back and played small ball. They actually out-hit, had more hits in the first game, which they lost, but they managed to hang in a game, made it very close. Weather, of course, it's getting a little steamy here in Minnesota, 88 degrees.
Look at that miles per hour, though.
Yeah, the wind is really blowing out now to the left, so that's going to be a big thing. If you're a right-handed hitter, you're in good shape. Left-handed hitters are going to struggle or have to get creative.
I'm suspicious of that humidity graphic, by the way. 53% seems a little low. It is much stickier than that in here. At least it feels a lot stickier. But we are set for baseball. For softball, you could see the flags blowing, and I say baseball because normally this is a baseball stadium. Let's remind people, this game being played in the home of the St. Paul Saints of baseball's independent league. Of course, a very well-known independent league team, and this is a nice stadium to be in.
No question. There have been players like Darryl Strawberry, Jack Morris. Many have come through here and played in this minor league park for that team. And the fences, if they want to know, 320 down the line and 400 to deep center.
And Brian Barnett starts the game off drawing the walk. So a runner aboard, and that runner is going to have a chance to run around the bases here because that goes well off the top of the wall out there and into the night, or the afternoon, I guess we should say, here in St. Paul. It is a 2-run home run. I'm not sure what that bounced off. That kind of threw me off a little bit.
Bubba really made it a challenge because first of all, as he turns on it here, you see one of the best swings in softball. And Bubba watched it go. He wasn't sure because it hit right on top of the Hardware Hank sign. And fortunately for Bubba and his team, Rip City, falling on the outside of the fence up into the trees. First home run of the game, and the first lead of the game goes to Rip City.
Great second look at it by our crew there, right off the top of the sign. That was initially what I thought, but then there's a couple of little fences back there as well, so I wasn't sure if it went off one of those back fences. So 2-0, and then a pop-up there for Chris Larson. So the first out of the game for Rip City here as they enjoy this 2-0 lead.
Chris Larson came in disappointed. Of course, he wasn't able to clear the fence. Those that follow this game know he was the 2010 Long Haul Bomber home run champion, so no stranger to the long ball for Chris Larson.
Chris Burns comes to the plate now. Chris Burns playing in the ASA B team with Iron City as well. Rip City, I should say, Ironhawks, and as he lines it back up the middle for the out, was a first-team All-American at the B level.
And there's a nice defensive play right on your toes. They come flying right back at you from 50 feet out. And that's a nice defensive play, and Sonny's showing that they're on their toes. A little warmed up after that earlier game.
By the way, a little bit different look here with Carl Blank being a lefty pitcher.
Here we go.
And again, we do start with a 1-1 count, so now the count back even at 2-2 after just a couple of pitches, and now the count will go full 3-2 here for Donovan Pakraka. Pakraka was a member of the Stadium Power Tour for the Long Haul Bombers, part of that group that travels around the country and puts on shows before big league games in major league parks. They had their finals last night, and that'll be coming up later on for you here on CBS Sports Network, what transpired Friday night, and the walk drawn there by Pakraka.
They've been dazzling major league crowds for some time. It all started back in 2003 with an exhibition, and the Minnesota Twins were hosting. They didn't believe that they could even hit the fences. Well, that night there was a 515-foot home run. They learned in a hurry that these guys can hit major league bombs.
So Arnold, the pitcher, steps to the plate, and he goes the opposite way, pops it up, and that is going to end the inning. But a good start here for Rip City. They get a couple of runners home on the 2-run home run by Bubba Brungart and enjoy a 2-0 lead with Sonny's coming to bat.
ASA Super National, presented by Long Haul Trucking on CBS Sports Network, is being brought to you by Easton Sports. There is a difference, and the difference is Easton. By Miken Sports, elite equipment for the elite player. Miken Sports. And by DeMarini. Upgrade your game with the DeMarini Stadium CL22 and Flipper Aftermath.
Little cookout going on outside Midway Stadium as the fans enjoying a beautiful sun-splashed Saturday afternoon here in St. Paul, Minnesota. The ASA Super National coming to town, and Sonny's will need to try and get some offense going a little bit earlier than they did in the first semifinal game. They'll look to Jeremy Davis to try and get things started. He was 0 for 4 in that first semifinal. He'll be followed by Cunningham, Greinert, Oliveira, Giel, Ramirez, Peso, Christensen, Carl Blank, the pitcher, and then Aaron Martinez, who has shifted to shortstop, and that will take a look at the offense now, or the defense now for Rip City. DeMarini, Pakraka, Heron, and Wethington around the outfield. Brungart, Tiernan, Barnett, and Schlitz comprise the infield. Arnold and Larson are your battery.
So look at the guys. This is their first game. Of course, Sonny's played in the game previous, so they're warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, Mike, because you know, you put yourself obviously at a big disadvantage to be in the losers bracket. But now all of a sudden that disadvantage that you had to play with the last couple of days becomes an advantage because you didn't have to get up early this morning. You didn't have to get to the yard at the crack of dawn to get ready for the first game, and you're not playing in a second consecutive game in this heat. That's got to be a big advantage here for Rip City.
I guess the only other advantage is Sonny's is familiar with these conditions. They know which way the wind is blowing. They've seen they were using it to their advantage, learning from it in the first game. Maybe that can be the edge that gives them the strength to battle back in this game.
As I mentioned, Jeremy Davis was 0 for 4 in that first game. He'll remain 0 for on the day because that clearly will be an error out there in left field. And he is going to make it all the way around to third base. But Donovan Pakraka, not sure exactly what happened, if that ball kind of sailed on him or what there, Mike.
Yeah, that's very uncharacteristic for Pakraka. Of course, I think, well, when you look at the wind, and we talked about it earlier, it's really blowing right in his face. And maybe he just misjudged it or the ball might have darted a little bit at the end. It's really a hawk out there in left field, and Pakraka made a very uncharacteristic error.
So that'll bring Cunningham to the plate. Charles Cunningham pinch hit in that first game and did come up with a single. Cunningham from Seattle, Washington, played some college baseball. Says he had a few workouts with some major league teams, but nothing ever came from it. A long fly ball out to center field. That's going to be enough to bring in Davis tagging up, and Sonny's gets a run on the board here, and it's back to a one-run game.
So many players can get close just to even get looked at or considered by a major league scout. Tells you what kind of college player you must have been when you think of all those guys that never even get that opportunity. We see throughout this, if you weren't with us earlier, many of these players, and we'll be talking about them, had opportunities. They were in minor league organizational systems for, in some cases, to AA or even, and done lots of things in the minors before they ended up here in this world of slow pitch softball.
Chris Greinert up. He's a guy who can hit the ball a long, long way. In that first game, though, as we talked about at the top of the broadcast, Mike did not display the power, displayed instead the hitting ability, and he puts it on display here again. Sends it right down the line, and he'll walk into second with a stand-up double.
That's a good sign for Greinert because he really wasn't pulling the ball in the first game at all. I think he would even admit that he just didn't seem to have his normal rhythm in that first game. Now, while that was not a home run, that was more like Chris Greinert. Line drive, hard hit ball, pulled down the left field line, and with the wind blowing out to left, that could be a good sign for Greinert and his team.
Greinert's nicknamed the Enforcer. Oliveira, the bouncer to third, and that is handled nicely there by Dale Brungart on the hop, gets the put out at first base.
Greinert moves to third. Let's see how Westy does here. Again, these guys are up and at him early this morning. There's that tough play at third base. Nice throw and the out.
Westy Giel, by the way, had himself a nice game in that first semifinal. 4 for 5 with a home run and 3 runs scored. Looking to continue his hot bat here in the afternoon game.
Oliveira was just thrown out at first. Had a big game in the first game, too, with a couple of home runs.
And Giel sends it to center, and Wind's playing with it a little bit, but no problem for Billy Heron as he reels it in, and that'll bring about an end to the first inning. So we've got one in the books here in St. Paul. It's just a one-run game. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action to the 5th inning. Well, welcome back to St. Paul, Minnesota, 7-5 as we move to the 5th, and this game is flying. I guess if you want fast softball, you just invite Denny Crine into the broadcast booth.
I'm just so glad to see you, Denny. I remember when you were just breaking into this, you were coming up with, there were guys like Mike Schenk around and Todd Martin, Jerling, those guys, and you were kind of a young guy then, playing kind of a utility role, and now look what you've become. What was it like for you to see some of those old classic guys, you know, the guys that maybe really paved the way for what's happening today, to have a chance to play with them and now be your own man, one of the big guys in this sport?
Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action. Well, that's what I want to ask you, because I know a lot of people watching this are probably saying, okay, so first of all, wow, there's pro softball players, because a lot of people seeing this might not be aware of that. But then secondly, they might say, well, hey, I'm pretty good at softball. How do you make that jump? How do you go from being a guy that is playing softball, 3-4 times a week in a rec league and playing pretty well to making the jump to being a pro?
It's tough. You got to, like I said, you got to be in the right place at the right time. A lot of the off-season tournaments where you mix it up and play on different teams, if you're good enough, once you get your shot, if you take advantage of it, you can, once you get in, people get to know you, you're pretty much set, as long as you're a good person.
So basically, if you're good enough, they'll find you.
Sometimes you got to do a little work. You got to do a little networking, with the internet days and Facebook and all that. It's a little bit easier than when I first started. I got lucky. A gentleman by the name of Brad Stiles moved to Vegas and gave me an opportunity to play with Long Haul my first year. And after that, it was, what I had to take advantage of the opportunity. So
Chris Burns trying to send that one into right after Chris Larson with that double. Still nobody out here for Rip City as they continue to bat in the 5th inning and have padded their lead to 10-5. Who do you like watching out here this weekend? So many great players here. I mean, are there some guys here that you admire and that you enjoy watching their game?
Well, I've played with Brett Helmer and Brian Wegman in the past, and a lot of the guys on that team. Team Mikan member Kevin Philby. There's a lot of talent out here. You get to see a team like Sonny's, who isn't necessarily the top level team, but yet you come to ASA and things kind of equal out, and and they compete and gave the Easton team a run for their money last game.
Single by Burns, not enough to bring Larson home. So first and third now as Pokraka will come to the plate following that great diving grab out there in out there in right field. And Pokraka looks at a ball. So if you had an opportunity to comprise your own all-star team, I don't want to get you in any trouble here, but which guys? Who would be the top 3 off your draft board?
Top 3. You definitely have to find a good pitcher. Guys like Andy Purcell, Gino Buck. Those guys would be. You got to find a good pitcher, and then all-around guys. Obviously, Bryson Baker. Play both sides of the field. Definitely a top pick for me.
Oh, that's interesting. And we talked about it in the first game about the importance of having a good pitcher. And the runs just continuing to mount here for Rip City. Another big base knock right there by Arnold. And it's going to bring home another run.
Off the wall, ends up with a single. Bases were a little, well, they weren't sure he was going to make the catch, so they held up the runners in front of him. So he would have been able to make it to second normally. But big hit. Is Rip City starting to live up to their billing right now? And ripping pretty good right here in the capital city of Minnesota, St. Paul.
Yeah, Rip City's got 5 in already here in the inning. What do you think of the dimensions of this yard? Obviously having to battle those last night in the Stadium Power Tour Finals.
I thought the dimensions were good. The wind obviously helped the right-handers last night with the, blowing out a little bit to left, although by the time we hit it died down, so I don't think it was too much of an advantage.
Buettner hits it to short, chance for a double play, and Sonny's instead gets the force out, and then they throw to home, and they do get Pokraka trying to slide in at home for the second out, so they get the lead runner.
Danny, one of the things I like about watching the Stadium Power Tour is the camaraderie. We see it. We saw it here. I've seen it everywhere I've been, and I've been around these things for about 7-8 years. You might win. Brett Hellman might win, whoever might win. You guys are always first to congratulate each other. What is that like for you guys?
Last night, the finals is usually the only time we're really kind of rooting against each other. All the other times we want to put on a big show. When we go to a stadium, I want everybody to hit 15 because that's what the fans want to see.
Wow. So I'm going to give a tease. It was a heck of a show last night. And Denny, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us and continued success to you.
Thank you.
Back here in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota, 12-5. Rip City has finally found their offense. Can Sonny's answer? They are running out of time and running out of innings if they want to try and get back to a rematch against Hortonbach Auto Easton in the championship game. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action.
He's coming off a big double and a home run early, just his last at bat and a double earlier, so he's starting to wake up.
Yeah, he's 5 for 7 on the day, and
we're
going to make it 6 for 8. 6 for 8 with his second home run, a no doubt about it shout. Wish I had a tape measure because that one was 400 feet, folks.
I think the train is happy it wasn't on the track at that point, or there might have been a dent in the Burlington Northern Railway.
3-run shot for Chris Greinert, and Sonny's showing some life. After Rip City had opened up a pretty sizable lead, Sonny's pulling back into this one.
Let's go. Get up, fellas.
With one swing of the bat.
That's how quickly it all can change. Take a look at that swing again. So much power from this 6'6" man who can just get around on it quickly. Such a quick, compact swing for such size and strength.
Greinert, another one of those guys who was on the Stadium Power Tour. It was funny because I think it was Bill Wegman who was asked, would you rather, who of course was playing for Hortonbach Auto USA, and we'll see, or Easton I should say, and we'll see him coming up in the championship game again. I think he was asked, compare playing a weekend tournament to playing on the Stadium Power Tour and going to those big league stadiums, getting a chance to hit home runs in front of Major League Baseball fans. And he said, honestly, I'd rather play in the weekend tournaments because on the Stadium Power Tour, you travel for 2 days to swing at 15 pitches.
And you got to get right at it. I'm surprised that these players can do it so well. You're there in the tunnel, there's 50,000 people or more cheering you, watching you, almost like you're a fish in an aquarium. And you got to just stand up there, and your first pitch better be a good one, because you don't have an opportunity to warm up really, a little bit, but not really truly warm up. And they do it, and they do it so well. I hope you have a chance to watch the finals that we'll be having, coming up when you're going to be able to see these guys put on a show in this stadium, Midway Stadium in St. Paul.
Of course, Brian Wegmer, Bill Hellner, a couple of the all-time greats here in the sport. We'll be seeing them later. And after the walk there by Oliveira, a chance for Sonny's to pull a little bit closer.
One thing that Denny Crine said I found interesting is if he was building a team, he'd start with a pitcher.
Yeah, that is amazing, isn't it?
I mean, I'm still trying to, I know pitching's important, but I think your average fan would never imagine that the key player on a slow pitch softball team would be the guy, dishing up the slow pitches. But there is something to it, and I've heard that it isn't just where you put the ball; it's the timing. Can you possibly get the batters out of their rhythm? A lot of it is psychological, and some of the guys that he had mentioned, who were some of the really, big names in softball pitching. It isn't just where they pitch the ball; it's their presentation, how they alter their rhythm, what they do with it. But I got to admit, I was even surprised that he'd start with one. I know it's important to have a good pitcher in slow pitch softball at this level. But I don't know if I'd start with one. But that's what who's going to argue with Denny Crine?
Well, Denny Crine, his swing is classic, and if he has found a pitcher that can frustrate him, that's a guy he wants on his team.
I just have seen him grow up. If you'd have seen him, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And how he is, he always listens. He's such a polite, soft-spoken guy, but represents the sport so well. Helps young men and women when they ask questions about softball whenever he's on the Stadium Power Tour. Just a great ambassador for the game.
So Ramirez at the plate, already 3 runs in here in the bottom of the 5th for Sonny's. Ramirez trying to make it more, gets it high up into that wind out in left field, but it's not going to be enough as Wethington able to get under it and make the catch. It will bring in a run, however, as the runners advance. Giel goes all the way to 3rd, and Oliveira comes in to score.
As much as it seemed that Rip City was starting to pull away a little bit in what has been a relatively low-scoring game for slow pitch softball, 12-9, 3-run margin right now. Certainly, 3 runs is nothing.
And that's going to be an error there. A hot shot into the hot corner off the bat of Pesso, able to bring a run around, and Dale Brungart, a.k.a. Bubba, unable to handle it.
Well, that's a tough one, though. Bubba's right there. I mean, is there a tougher position than third base? Let's watch this one again. He did get in front of it, and that's the key of any third baseman. But he wasn't able to keep it in front of him enough to be able to make the play.
So you want error or single on there?
I would go error, but I tell you, that's about as tough as an error as you can go.
Yeah, that was my initial reaction, so I'm going with that. But you know what? I could see the case for that being a single because that was a shot. Speaking of a shot, Christensen lines it out to center field for the 2nd out of the inning.
I know we have a lot of softball players and fans watching this, and I think most of them would agree with me. Is there a tougher position than third base in softball? I don't know. You better come ready for every play because you're gonna have bruises where you never thought you could have them.
The only other position is pitcher.
Yeah.
You talk about being there in the hot corner. Well, how about being just 50 feet away from the plate?
The only difference I think at this level, and you can talk to guys like Denny Crine, they're so good at hitting that they can generally avoid a pitcher, and they do it on purpose because they don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Well, a great grab out there by the middle infielder, Sean Butner, but unable to make the out at first base. But boy, what about a nice cat-like quickness on display there by him to grab it.
Look at that. You can only smile after a play like that because he did just about everything right. Of course, it would have helped a little bit if Andy Schlitz on first base. His foot was off, so even if they would have been able to get him, which I don't think they would have been able to call him safe, but still, what a great defensive play, just to make the play and make the throw.
So Aaron Martinez now at the plate with a couple runners still aboard, 2 away, and just a 2-run game. And Martinez is going to drop one in center, and hustling around to come in and score is Pesso all the way from second base. And we're back to a 1-run game here, Mr. Woodley.
Yeah, this is a real classic game, and we're seeing, if you like close contests back and forth, that's exactly what this is. In slow pitch softball, sometimes you can see those one-sided contests where the guys are crushing the ball and the other team isn't. But this one is a little bit of everything. Home runs, but we're seeing a lot of small ball too.
Davis, who is struggling today, led off the inning with a single, but lines out to center to end the inning, but not before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big runs. 6 make it for Sonnies in the inning, 12-11, as we'll get ready to go to the 6th here in St. Paul.
ASA Super National, presented by Long Haul Trucking on CBS Sports Network, is being brought to you by Easton Sports. There is a difference, and the difference is Easton. By Miken Sports, elite equipment for the elite player. Miken Sports. And by DeMarini. Upgrade your game with the DeMarini Stadium CL22 and Flipper Aftermath.
Due to time constraints, let's move ahead to the action in the 7th inning. And back here on a beautiful sun-splashed afternoon in St. Paul, Minnesota. Rip City a 4-run lead, looking to get some insurance here. And Mike Woodley liking that weather vane.
Yeah, well, they say when pigs can fly, right? Well, baseball's fly at this minor league park when that's the motto of the St. Paul Saints is a pig. Well, we're seeing softballs flying today, and let's see how this wraps up. We got Rip City trying to hang on to their lead and see if they can pad to it here in the 7th.
Donovan Pokraka, 2 for 2 in this game with a walk, a home run, 3-run shot that he had back in the 3rd inning. Pokraka putting it right down the line and left. That's going to be extra bases, and he's going to hold up and pull into second with a stand-up double to lead things off.
Gotta like this guy. Again, we saw fantastic defensive play by Pokraka in this game now. Some real timely hitting. And this is smart by him too, because sure you can go for the home run, but if you can just get on base and keep moving along, you got that 4-run lead, you get a couple more, it's going to be a lot more comfortable trying to hang on and get this victory.
So the pitcher, Shannon Arnold, not going to be a lot of turnaround time for whoever wins this game, as they will have to face well, as I'm about to set up the championship game, we get a miscue out there in center field, and off and running on the bases is Arnold. He's going to be able to go all the way into third as Justin Davis misplayed that ball out there in center field.
Davis just missed this one. Not sure if the wind might have had a gust. It is starting to gust now. It's not as strong as it was before, but let's take a look at it. It seemed like he had it sized up pretty good, but no, he just it's tough to run backwards in a hurry, and of course went over his head, and he'd like to have that one back.
Yeah, that's a flat-out error on that play as he misjudged it, and 3 bases for Arnold, and a run comes in as Pokraka able to score easily from second base, and that brings up Buettner, who follows that one off. And a 1-2 count.
Rip City this year has been averaging 19 runs a game, giving up 16. So
they played in a lot of close games, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, and that's what makes it exciting. They're right about on pace, is what I was really getting at. This is a Rip City game, the way they're playing today.
So Buettner with the 1-2 count. Still nobody out here in the top of the 7th. The bouncer to short, and Buettner will be put away. Peso on the throw.
There's a look at some of the action today, Dave. Look at this. Look at these balls. Rip City ripping the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a show, whoever gets into Hortonbach Easton in that championship game, because both these teams that are on the field here, Sonnies and Rip City, can put it out, and we know Hortonbach is capable of putting it out as well.
It's going to be a fun final. Looking forward to seeing it. I'm impressed by what I see from, well, both teams really, but Rip City, I didn't really know a lot of the players other than, a few of the guys, of course. We know Larson, we know, Brugart, we know a little bit about Barnett, but a lot of these guys aren't really guys that we've heard a lot about in softball, but they're playing well as a team.
Quick out there for Keith Wethington, and so 2 away. Andy Schlitz now with a runner on third, does not want to leave the runner stranded. A 5-run lead in this game might be all right, Mike, because it hasn't been the explosive type of game that you can sometimes see with these big sluggers. But overall, 5 runs, you want more than that.
Yeah, anytime that you got the tying or the winning run in the hole even, you certainly can't get comfortable.
And Schlitz sends it down the line. The little blooper drops in, and looks like a line drive in the box score. RBI single for Schlitz.
He'll take it. That wasn't by design, but you know, if you put your bat on the softball, you never know what could happen. He fell right in the right spot.
Hit it where they ain't.
Yeah, Schlitz wasn't really a threat to go to second, but they're ready to make the throw regardless.
So Tiernan now at the plate, still looking for his first hit of the day. In fact, was officially tabbed with a strikeout. The only strikeout we've seen so far on this afternoon in his last at bat when he fouled with 2 strikes.
You don't mark a K in the book too often in this level of softball. It does happen though occasionally.
And Tiernan gets under that one, pops it up, and that's going to be an easy put out, and that is the 3rd out. So Rip City comes up with a couple of runs to pad their lead. They'll go to the bottom of the 7th, up 6 over Sunnies. We have reached the bottom of the 7th here at the ASA Super Nationals second semifinal, and Sunnies need some runs, but they've shown in this game they have the capability of getting them in a hurry.
Let's see if they can do it now. Here's a look at some of the offense. There's Greinert with another home run. He had a couple of them here. Of course, he came up just short his last at-bat. They're going to have to pick it up a little bit, get some of this type of offense if they want to come back and make a run at this thing. But they have every opportunity. This game is by no means in the hands of Rip City.
4 home runs in all for Sunnies here in this game. 2 of them have come off the bat of Chris Greinert. And Greinert could be a factor later on in the inning if Sunnies can get something going, but he isn't due up for quite a while. Leading things off is Alexis Ramirez. Ramirez does have a home run in this game. In fact, he hit the first home run of the game for Sunnies, and that's hit right on the screws, but hit right down the line and fielded beautifully by Brungard.
Yeah, and earlier we had a debate if that was going, if Bubba made an error or it was a hit. This time he just made a great play. Let's see it again. Quick reactions, third base. Mentioned tough place to play. Kept his glove on it, never lost sight of it. Makes the play in the out.
So Peso, as Sunnies down to their final 2 outs, although we know they can score runs with outs. They proved that in the first game against Tortenbach Auto Easton, as they scored their first 10 runs of that game, all with 2 outs. They only have 1 out here, so still plenty of time to get something going.
Yeah, you got to get some of these guys like Peso on base so we can get back around, so they can get back around and have an opportunity maybe to get a couple of those long balls and clips this 6-run lead.
Peso thought he had ball 4 there, but it does just get a piece of the plate. And so a full count now, 3-2.
Base runners are so important. That's why Peso's, normally you don't like a walk in softball, but that would have been a key one.
And Peso gives that one a ride, but it is just a long out there on the warning track as Wethington able to bring it down.
Wethington doing a nice job in left field. Again, battling the elements, a little bit of the wind, not quite as strong as it was when the game opened up.
And you see the smile there on Wethington. He knows his team is just 1 out away from advancing to the championship and having a shot at being crowned the ASA Super National 2013 champion. And we're going to have a pinch hitter here for Sunnies, as Kevin Ballard is going to check in, and he will bat for Sammy Christensen.
As you see, last game, 1 for 5, a single and a run. Didn't seem to have a lot of rhythm in that opening game with just a 2-run loss for his team, and he's batting from the left-handed side. But something's going on. Sonny Pilcher, the manager, having a feeling that Ballard's the man here, so he's getting his opportunity.
Sunnies needs a lot of things to go right now. Down 6 with just 1 out remaining, and that is going to be out of the yard, but it is going to be well foul.
Ballard got around a little too quick, trying to go down the line. 320 down the line, as we talked about before. It was 330 for the quarterfinal game, so they're happy to see that a little bit smaller.
Ballard goes the opposite way for the single, so Sonny's still hanging on.
Big smile on his face.
Daniel Bean, the pitcher, will come in. Of course, he came in earlier in the game, back in the 4th inning, and pinch hit for Carl Blank, who started the game.
Ballard will go back on the bench and bring in the bench runner.
Bean, since coming in as a pinch hitter, is 2 for 2 in this game. Bean was 3 for 5 in that first national semifinal. So overall, Bean having a pretty good day at the plate, 5 for 7.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
All they want is a base hit. They just want to keep getting batters up to the plate.
Play.
Such a big time in this game right now as Sonny's hoping to somehow find a way to get those 6 runs across, tie the game, or possibly get 7.
And look at this. Bean with another base hit. So the game continues to be extended for Sonny's.
They had 22 hits in that loss earlier to that Easton squad. They actually out-hit the team that they lost to by a couple of hits. So they can hit the ball. They got to place them right now, get some runners on, and then they got to get a couple of home runs.
Aaron Martinez, you see his numbers there here in this game, and Martinez trying to go the opposite way. If they can get it around past Martinez, it'll be the top of the order with Davis, Cunningham, and then Greinert. And Greinert already a couple home runs on the afternoon. 4 runs driven in, a couple of runs scored.
And Oliveira's right behind him if they can get to those guys. And Oliveira's got a home run in this game, 2 in the previous game, so those guys are certainly swinging confidently for the fence.
Well, right now it's all up to Martinez, and Martinez tries to get it through the right side of the infield. It's mishandled over there by Barnett, and that is going to keep the game alive. Bases now full.
Barnett did a nice job to get to it, but just couldn't. It just kind of gobbled him up when he got there. And that's just what they need right now. This is just what Sonny's need. Base runners are important. Now with bases loaded, an opportunity to take a nice big chunk out of that 6-run lead.
And back up the middle, Arnold may have gotten a glove on it and played his second base. And they're going to say, not in time. So an infield single and a run in.
About as close of a play as you can find. You see so many plays at second. Let's take a good look here. Again, nice job to get to the ball. Up at it, had to wait a minute for the second baseman to get there. I think that's a good call.
Well, considering he never even stepped on second base, it's a great call.
Well,
but from our angle initially, it looked like it was even closer. But hey, nice hustle running the base pass there to get into second base in a hurry by Martinez.
You could see a phantom out on second in any level of baseball, but that one you got to give him to it.
And that ball's fair. It's a grand slam, and they're looking it over, and they're looking around, and they're saying home run. Grand slam by Charles Cunningham.
Wow.
And oh my. Wow. Just like that, we got ourselves a 1-run game.
Cunningham, who has that big bat, the 30-ouncer, swung it hard and fast. Here's a look at it.
Mike, I thought this was going to be foul.
Yeah, it looked like it, but it just stayed clear. It stayed fair. Wind blowing straight out now. You could see it about 5 feet inside the fair pole, right into the SS Porcher. And we're getting close to a time when Rip City may be concerned about not seeing an extra inning.
All right, so now guess who's coming to the plate? Chris Greinert.
You think he can hit a home run? 6'6", nearly 300 pounds. Stadium Power Tour veteran, leader of this team. 2 home runs in this game already. Couldn't be much more dramatic than this did.
So let me ask you this. Do you even pitch to him? You got the bases empty with 2 outs.
The guy behind him has 3 home runs today, including 1 in this game. So how do you load him up and then put yourself in a position where you're going to lose the game?
This may be one of those unintentional intentional walks where they're not going to give him anything really to hit.
A home run ties it, though.
And Greinert, and that is going to be mishandled out there in the
Digging
middle infield position. And Greinert, and nice heads-up base running, does get into second base.
That's key, though, because now with Oliveira coming up, now he's in scoring position. If he can get anything opposite field or something works his way, Greinert's got a good opportunity to score. Again, these are 75-foot bases. If you're watching this wondering why they're right inside there, 75 feet, but still it's a good distance.
Jamie Tierney continuing to shake his head over there. Knows that he should have had a play on that ball.
he's made great plays in this game today, but that's one that might stick with him for a long time.
And they're not giving Oliveira a chance to make any noise. They intentionally sent him to first base to set up the force, and also basically because they'd rather pitch to Westy Gill.
Hard to argue with that one, especially with first base open. I mean, this makes sense. Right now, the tying run, of course, is at second. Oliveira represents the winning run. So what Gill does right now is not nearly as important, since he doesn't have at least the effectiveness at the plate today that Oliveira has had.
Sonny's already 5 runs in the inning. This could be your ball game right here. Gill with a base hit, a chance to tie it, an extra base hit wins it, or an out wins it for Rip City.
Doesn't need to go deep. He's got a double, a walk, and a run.
And Gill lays into one. And that is not coming back, folks. That is well gone. A 3-run home run walk-off style for Sonny's. What a finish to the second national semifinal. Sonny's comes all the way back and erases a 6-run deficit to win it. And they will go on to the ASA Super National Championship game.
Westy Gill. You're looking for heroes on a team beforehand. What a nice way to end it for this team to come back and go all the way from 6 runs down to take the walk-off lead.
Unbelievable finish. 20-18 is your final. Sonny's stays alive. Rip City going home. Back with more after this quick timeout here on CBS Sports Network.